I purchased my first home a little over a decade ago, and I did not love it. There were a few things that I did not like about the property I was purchasing. For one, the price. I felt like it was way more expensive than what I was wanting to pay for a home. The second thing was the size of the rooms. The rooms were much smaller than what I was accustomed to. The size of the closets were also smaller than what I was accustomed to. The bathrooms, there was no tub in the master bathroom, which was something that I was hoping to have. Nevertheless, I ended up purchasing this property, and years later, I ended up loving this property more than I would have thought I would be loving a property. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about some of the things that you need to be considering when it comes to you purchasing a home. When I purchased this first home, I was purchasing in a state that I had never lived in. So I was in the military at the time. I had gotten a set of orders to pretty much travel across the country and get restationed in another state. And so I was of the mindset that I did not want to rent anymore. I had been married for about 3 years, and I rented at my first duty station, and I did not want to rent anymore. I wanted to be a homeowner. I wanted to start building equity, building wealth through home ownership. So I had already made up in my mind that I'm going to purchase a home at my next duty station. So I got my set of orders, and it was 4 days actually that I took to travel to this other state to go shopping and house hunting and everything. I got a real estate agent who I had spoken with before I arrived. And out of those 4 days that I was there, the 4 days, including the day that I arrived and the day that I left, as well as the 2 days in the middle, we went house hunting for 1 day. 1 day out of the 4 days. And I was like, oh my goodness, I came all the way out here to, I was hoping we were going to spend at least 2 days, maybe house hunting, looking at things and everything. 1 day. And during that 1 day, we looked at like 6 or 7 properties. And at the end of house hunting for 6 or 7 properties, I'm speaking with the agent on the phone, and he's pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, says, all right, so pick which one you like and we'll put the offer in. Not exactly how a lot of people do their house hunting, and not exactly how I had in mind of doing my house hunting, especially for my first purchase, of just going out 1 day, looking at 6 or 7 homes and picking one and buying it. A lot of people, they'll go multiple weeks, of looking at houses until they select the one that they want. Well, 1 day, 6 or 7 properties. And so I found one house that I was like, okay, the funny thing is I wasn't thrilled about any of the properties that we looked at. There were some that I just did not like. There were some that were okay. And the one we selected on was in that, it's in the okay house column. There was none that I was like, that I loved, none that I was passionate about. There were none that I walked through the doors of the house and was like, this is the one, this is the house that I want to have, that I've got to own. Nothing remotely close to that. But we find one house that worked okay, and we ended up making that purchase. And over a decade later, less than a decade later, that home we still owned, and it more than doubled in value. We kept it as a rental because we lived there for a couple years, but as is common with the military, you get stationed from one place to the next. And when I got orders to get stationed at another duty station, we kept the house and decided to rent it out. And that ended up being the best decision we could have made. But I want to talk about while we lived there, though. We ended up growing such an attachment to the home and the community. We being me and my wife. We did not have children at the time. We ended up growing such an attachment to the home and the community in which we lived. We met our neighbors. We liked our neighbors. We liked the neighborhood we lived in. We liked the fact that we could ride our bikes or jog or walk down the street to a park that was down the street as well. We had a dog at the time, so we used to take our dog there and play. It was a lot of things that we just loved about the house after we moved in. This house that, after seeing it, I was like, I'm not thrilled about it. It's okay, but that's it. Ended up making the purchase just because I wanted to be a homeowner. I didn't want to rent anymore. And then going from there to a few months later, I love this house. I love where we're at. I'm attached to the house. I'm attached to the neighbors. All of this stuff that just grew over time. Mind you, my wife never saw the house until after we had purchased it. She never saw it in person. She did see pictures of it that I showed her online, but she never saw it in person until after we had purchased the home. But I developed this love for the property the longer that we lived there. And that's the point that I want to drive home for you, particularly in this episode, is that a lot of people are on the mindset they've got this laundry list of things that they want to have in a home. They've got features. It's got to have walk-in closets. Maybe it needs to have a huge master bedroom or a huge master bathroom. It needs to have, whatever's on your list of things that you got to have. Maybe it needs to have a wraparound porch or a deck on the back or a patio, whatever it is. Those things you can have in a home, but you can also not have them in a home, and you can grow to love the home even more than you ever thought you would have. So by simply taking the step into purchasing a home that you like, vice staying on the fence and pursuing a home that you believe you'll love or that you're passionate about, can make a huge difference in not just your financial journey and your home ownership journey, but just in your overall happiness as well, because things change over time with you owning a home. So another story I want to tell you is about the home that I live in now. When we purchased the home that we live in now, my wife, again, she did not see this home until after we were under contract. It was before we purchased this time, but after we were already under contract. So I went to see the house when it was listed for sale. And I'm walking around the house and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is a really nice house. I think that this house is not going to last long. I go back, I tell my wife, hey, I really like, this, that, and the third about the house. I think we should make an offer. And she's like, okay, so we get under contract. While we're under contract in the due diligence period, she comes and sees the house and she's walking around, and I can just tell by the look on her face, she is not thrilled about the house at all. She's like, it's okay. I'm like, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this room? What do you like about this? Look at this. And I'm showing her all these things, trying to persuade her that this is a beautiful home and this would be a great home for us to live in with our 2 children that we had at the time. And she was just not having it. I was like, well, look at the yard. She was like, well, the yard, it seems small. Mind you, the yard is not small at all. The yard is huge, bigger than any yard we've ever had anywhere. And she was just not seeing anything that she loved about the home. It was hard really to see if there was anything that she liked about the home, really. But nevertheless, I told her, hey, if you want, we can terminate the contract because we were still within our due diligence period, and we can go and find something else that you're gonna like even more. And she was like, no, let's just move forward purchasing the home. We've already lost out on like 3 or 4 other homes. So let's just move forward with purchasing this one. So we purchased this home, and I'm like, this is a great home. She's not so much. Months after living here, the home starts to grow on her, and she starts to love more and more about the home. She starts to love the yard that we have. She loves the privacy of the yard that we have. We've never had a private yard before. Now we have a yard where our little children could play in the yard, and we don't have to worry about them because we have a lot of privacy where we live at. She starts to like things about the house itself, to the point to where after living here for about a year, she says to me, I want to live here for like the next 20 years. I don't want to move anywhere else for like the next 20 years. I love where we live at. Night and day difference between where we were before, meaning when we started this journey to purchase this home, she not liking it at all. She's saying, oh, it's okay. It's, I'm not really thrilled about it, but we just need to get a house. To now, I want to live here for 20 years. I love the neighborhood. I love the neighbors, and we have some amazing neighbors. But she loves the neighbors. She loves the neighborhood where we live. She loves, that we can walk and jog, and we're outdoors people, so we like exercising. But she loves that we can walk and jog outside. She loves all of these things about the house that she initially didn't like at all. And again, I just use that story to also drive home the same point, that this list of things that a lot of people who are currently sitting on the fence of whether or not they should rent or whether or not they should own, or people who have decided that they want to pursue home ownership, but they are in this place of having a hard time finding a home because they're not finding the one that checks all of the boxes for them. They're not finding the home that when they walk through the doors, they get that feeling of, this is the one. I knew it the moment I walked through the doors that this is the home, or the moment I pulled up in front of it, this is the house that I'm gonna own. They're not getting that feeling with the 10, 12, 15 homes that they looked at. So they're in this space now where they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna continue the search. And what I wanna say is that you do not need to have all your boxes checked to get a home that you will grow to love. A lot of people are under this misconception that you will love the house and then that's when you need to make the purchase. But I actually want to paint things in a different picture for you, or shed a different light on it, and say that you can actually purchase a house that you are okay with. Purchase a house that does not check all your boxes. Purchase a house that you just like, but you don't love it. And then after purchasing the house, after owning the house, that home could end up becoming your greatest asset. It could end up becoming something that you absolutely love and are so glad that you made the purchase. There are some things that change about you as an individual and as a homeowner. The things that you like now might not be the things that you're going to like 5 years from now or 10 years from now, because you're going to change. But guess what else changes? The neighborhood that you live in can also change. The neighbors that you live around can make a big difference and have a huge impact on how much you even like the neighborhood. You could live in a home that you love, have horrible neighbors, and now you can't stand where you stay because of the people that you live around. But you could have a home that you like, a home that you're okay with, but you love your neighbors and you love being in this place simply because the community that you're around. You could buy a home and then 5 years later, they start building developments down the street. Maybe they start building commercial buildings down the street. Now you've got a bunch of 18-wheelers that are rolling through your neighborhood all the time because the area is changing around you and it's no longer the same area that you bought into 5 years, 8 years ago. So things can change and will change. And most importantly, you are going to change. The things that you like now are not going to be the same things that you like years from now. I have spoken with people who have purchased homes, and when they purchased the home, they purchased everything that was on the list of things that they loved, and they paid top dollar for it. They got the sunken tub with the jets. They've got the 2 walk-in closets, the huge master bedroom with the ensuite. They got the huge chef's kitchen. They got everything that they wanted in a home and paid top dollar for it. And then 5 years later, they're looking for somewhere else to purchase because that home doesn't work for them anymore. Meanwhile, I know people who bought a home that, oh, this home will work for us. We bought it. We like it. It'll do. And then 20 years later, they're still living in the same home. They love this home more now than the day they bought it. And they just don't want to leave it. They're so comfortable where they're at. They're so attached to where they're at. But even more importantly, they've grown to love where they're at. So they don't want to move out of that place. And so ultimately, in wrapping this up, don't get attached to your list of must-haves, especially if that list is long, of must-haves that you must have in a property. If it's something that will work for you and your family, let that be enough for you to at least get started on your homeownership journey, particularly if you've never owned a home before, because just getting started on that journey and getting into a home can open up doors for you, but it also might change some things with your mind about where you believe it is that you're headed and where you'll end up going. So you might believe that, oh, you know what, I don't love this home. I'm headed into a purchase transaction I'm going to regret. And you actually end up loving where you're at. So that's what I have for you. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. Make sure you tune in on Tuesdays as well. Home finance hacks. That's where I'm talking about all of the tips, the tools, the tactics that are going to save you thousands of dollars on purchasing a home, hundreds of dollars on your monthly mortgage payment, tens of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of you being in that loan. So you want to tune in on Tuesdays so you can get those money saving tips when it comes to your home ownership journey as well. So that's Tuesdays, right here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be going live every Tuesday. So make sure you tune in. And with that, thank you for taking the time to listen to this broadcast, or this episode rather. Take care, be blessed, and we'll see you in the next episode.